Yo, what up, y'all? This is Aminé, and I'm here with Sarah Harrison, aka Lady in the Trap.
Lady in the trap, yeah, the ladies get in the trap with their fellas and they hold them down, and she one of them. You know what I mean? She one of the girls gonna hold you down. You smell me? You feel that, don't you? Feel that, don't you?
You're tuned into In the Trap right now, and it's a pleasure to have this artist. It's been a long time coming, and it had to take a pandemic for me to get you, apparently.
Unfortunately, you know, if this was if there wasn't a pandemic, I'd definitely be in London seeing everybody in person right now.
Listen, I experienced a show of yours in London at the Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Oh, crazy.
That was so, oh my God, like literally that was one of the most memorable shows.
Thank you.
I might have like a bit of a bias because I really like that venue, but I think you definitely bodied the venue, honestly.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest shows we've ever done. I think like that was the first time a girl had like tried to tackle me on stage.
Okay, I wasn't there for that.
It was so funny. I think it was like the second night. We did 2 nights there, so it was crazy. But yeah, that was really fun.
Your stage production is so epic. Like, I love how much thought goes into that. Like, how much of that is your involvement? It seemed like you were very heavily involved in, you know, the graphics and the background. Like, how long does it take to piece all that together?
Yeah. It takes a while. I'm very involved. We kind of, before tours, usually don't have that much time to prepare for it because we plan the tour right after the album, and then we have to start rehearsing right away. So it only took about like 2-3 weeks, but this was kind of I just had like a huge team working on it, so we were all just working on it tirelessly, and then it happened. So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, the yellow just like really kept me engaged throughout. Like, it was so dope. I love it.
Dope.
But we're obviously talking about Limbo. This is your latest release. I wasn't expecting a release from you this year, actually, just because I was still on your previous project, which I felt just came and went.
Are you talking about 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah. 1.5 is a mixtape. You know what I mean? We put that out kind of in between Good For You and Limbo. Everybody who knew me and my music very well, my catalog, understood that I hadn't really put out an album in 2-3 years, really. So a lot of people were honestly expecting an album from me, and it kind of for me, I had it prepared. So even though it was in quarantine and this is kind of not the time I wanted to really release my music, it was definitely something that I knew needed to happen. The people, you know, I got to put out an album, and I did think the music was very necessary as well.
I really loved that 1.5. Like, I think you had some great cuts of that. Obviously, Reel It In was a very popular one. I specifically was spinning Blackjack a lot. It was just great for the DJ sets, like, you know, the 808s and stuff. Like,
yeah, the 808s go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's take it to Limbo now. I know you obviously dropped it at a time when we are all in limbo, as you've been preaching to us. But it was more of a coincidence because you decided that prior, right?
Yeah, I decided that much prior to it. I'm not really the one to do things that are on the nose. You know what I mean? Like that.
On brand.
Yeah, it's pretty corny to me. Like I personally think like music should be timeless. So you won't hear like a quarantine bar from me. I'm not gonna say like quarantine this, quarantine that in a song, just because I think, you know, the music lasts forever. It's kind of, you don't really want to put a timestamp on something because then, I don't know, it just reminds you of a time that wasn't so great.
True, but listen, I love Fabulous's bar. Give you the iPhone 4 FaceTime.
I don't even know. I don't know.
What's the song? Yeah, he says, give you the iPhone 4 FaceTime. I think it's on one of the soul tapes. And it's like, damn, every time I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, like I feel old.
Nah, yeah, that's dope. That's dope. I feel like the kids definitely don't relate to it, but it's tight.
Exactly. Because iPhone 4, like, kids don't even know probably that
they're going to be like,
what?
4. Yeah, they're going to be like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But one thing I know that fans have been able to pick is that you've been hinting Limbo in a few of your other projects, like as an ad lib or something, right?
I've been hinting it throughout the singles. So not
the singles,
right? Yeah.
Got it.
So when I dropped Shimmy, and then when I dropped Riri, I definitely mentioned. I gave people the album title way before it even came out.
I'm quite interested to know then, since seeing as you're so thoughtful about, you know, your output. Is there anything else that's hidden, you know, in between the lines that we still haven't been able to pick out and fans haven't pulled you up on?
Honestly, like I personally don't want to let people know. And if even if there is something hidden, I think that's kind of yeah, that's kind of like the point of me hiding. It's kind of for fans to go online and kind of figure it out amongst their friends and their homies. Because that was always my favorite thing when I listened to an artist, being able to talk about it and share it with my friends and really kind of deconstruct an album that I love. So for me, I want the fans to live with this album 2, 3 years from now, and then maybe like 2, 3 years from now, you realize something in the music that you never realized before, and that's always just dope, you know?
That's the best feeling. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I wanted to touch on, which is the replay value of this album. You know, compared to stuff that has been brought out this year, I'd say this is definitely top of the list for me, alongside the Nas album. You know, and
Thank you.
that's a good sentence to be in, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good
thank you.
company
Nah, I
to be
appreciate
in.
that. Yeah, and shout out to Nas, man. That album is dope as well. I think, yeah, we had a lot of intentions when making this album to make sure that it stood at like a very high quality ranking. You know what I mean? Because we you know, having Hot 100 hits and records and Billboard charts is amazing, and I think that stuff is such a blessing. But I also knew, you know, a classic album and something that people could live with years down the line is something that I wanted as well.
Yeah. And quickly then, seeing as we are here, I know that you're very fond of Jay-Z's 444. Would you
hmm
say that this Nas's release, King's Disease, is his version of 444?
I haven't had too much time to sit with it, so I don't want to make any
Okay.
too big decisions on that. But I do feel like, you know, Nas has built his own huge career. You know what I mean? Like Nas is a household name in hip hop. So to even compare those to Jay and him, I feel like are they have their own lanes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for me, 444 is a project that I really sat with for a couple years before I even knew how great it was. And I feel like, yeah, just give me some time to really listen to this Nas thing, and I think I'll notice the same thing as well.
I've heard you say that you've proclaimed this album to be like your adulting phase and you entering more of a, you know, thoughtful time in your life. You're reflective more on your past and on your experiences.
hmm
I know you mentioned, you know, your family and being able to spend more time with them and kind of separating the two, you know, your music life, your professional life, and your family life. Right.
hmm
I really relate to that myself. I've actually, you know, decided to come and spend this lockdown with my family in a whole different country because I felt like it was super important. What was a turning event for you, do you think, when you realized you had to make some changes in yourself as a person and in your professional career?
Yeah, I think it was just more so for me. I was going on this run of tours, you know what I mean, and I was having just like such a good time, you know, where I wasn't calling my parents as much as I used to. I wasn't you know, getting to talk to family members and really just I was missing so many people's birthdays, missing just important things that meant a lot to my family or friends, and it was just like it was a bit depressing for me. So I kind of just it was a good wake up call at a certain point when I had like conversations with my dad and him saying like, you know, you need to be home more, like you need to, you know, just talk to us more, and that for me was when I like, you know, woke up and was like, yeah, like I'm messing up right now. Like I gotta, you know, be an adult about things and be able to really organize my time and really know when to have fun and know when to organize my time and just be an adult. And for me, yeah, I'm 26 now, so I'm not old yet, but like I'm growing up, you know. So it's definitely a good phase to be in for me right now.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, towards the start of this call, you mentioned you had no kids though. So I guess that's not too much of a commitment that you've had to, you know, make sure you do prioritize, right? When it
Yeah,
does
no,
come.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm that's not even a thought in my mind for a couple years, you know. I'm definitely enjoying my 20s.
Well, yeah, we know it's not a thought in your mind because you actually have a whole song where it's about that sentiment. And Funnily enough, it's been something that plays in my mind all the time about bringing kids into this world that we live in. You know,
Yeah.
you say that the world in general is on such a decline, and it's fearful. It's you know, you're hesitant, and it troubles you, and it does to me too. But I'm
Yeah.
quite interested because you also have a song dedicated to your mother, so you obviously have a close relationship with her. Have
Mhm.
you had time to, in your conversations, talk about perhaps when she was ready to have children or to have yourself, if she had that thought process? Because I would imagine that every generation thinks that the world is going to shit. Have you had that conversation with your mum?
I actually haven't, and I think that's a great conversation to have with my parents. Actually, I'm gonna definitely ask my mom that on my next call with her.
Your next
But
Zoom.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think I don't know. I think that song I made that song "Fetus" because it I made that song over a year and a half ago, and I felt like I that for me was just such a song that I felt like so many people could relate to because things if I made that a year and a half ago, times were tough back then with all the school shootings and just the injustices of America in general. And then to live in the time that we do now is just even crazier. It got literally extremely worse. And
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of to me what I'm so proud of with the music, that the topics and the lyrics that we wrote kind of stood the test of time. You know, we were able to keep them and they still related to the world. You know, they still speak on things that people can still relate to now.
And I, you know, I would imagine at the top of your list of troubles in the world would be
Mm.
the treatment of the black race in general in the world by, you know, by law, by the police force. Even things like, you know, you mentioned in your lyrics something like it's easy, it's as easy as like getting a Happy Meal or something, with like in terms
Yeah.
of guns in
Yeah.
America. Can you
Yep.
talk about the other stuff that actually do trouble you and you fear for the kids?
Yeah. Like I think it's like what you said earlier. It's so hard to think like having a kid and you got to send them out to school, and that's like the one thing you got to think about. You know what I mean? Like I feel like getting that call would be the most frightening thing ever. So that was just me kind of speaking to like how fucked up our country is. You know what I mean? Just the fact that even that is possible is just crazy. And you know, I applaud the UK for your guys' gun laws. It's just there's not one person that has one really. So that's dope.
Every sort of place has its own downfalls, if that makes sense.
Of
Like
course, of
there's,
course.
you know, like crime in the UK is also very high. Like there's knife crime in the UK.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's always something that is, you know, drowning and putting like a dark cloud over a place because of just the society we live in, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's no school shootings where y'all are at like that. You know,
Yeah,
that's
it is
that's
wild.
that's that's one of the worst things I've ever seen. So I feel like gun laws are just super important. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like just to credit what you just said, yeah, people are always going to be able to find violence and weapons and things like that. But if we can at least control it in some way, you know, less people die.
And I guess that moves us on to the way music and sports really have a great connection. They really go hand in hand. And you've obviously hooped in your time.
Hmm.
And recently, some of the most respected NBA players have taken a stand at the recent Jacob Blake shooting. Yeah, how do you feel about that? And how can musicians and sports personalities really use their voice to elevate this topic and bring justice?
I mean, I feel like that was the dopest thing ever, seeing that. You know what I mean? Of course, I was excited to see my Blazers play basketball, but it was more exciting to see everybody unified like that. I thought that was really, really sick. For me, I feel like like you said earlier, music and sports really like are go hand in hand. And for us as artists, it's really just putting it into the music. You know what I mean? Like music is healing for people. You know what I mean? It's such a different kind of experience than any other art form. It's something that you can't explain. It's something that is a feeling in itself. It's so subjective. So the words that we speak of and the way, of course, like on the internet, like we need to definitely talk about it. Like that's an obvious, but to me, that's like that's obvious. Like everyone needs to do that. That's the minimum you could do as a person with any following. But in the music you put out, just making sure it speaks to your culture, especially if you're a black person, you know what I mean? Like that, to me is super important. I think it was dope to see Lil Baby put out that song when he did, because it was something people didn't expect. And, you know what I mean? To see that from an artist like Baby, that was just dope, to see him just really make a whole music video at a protest.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the highlights of this year.
Was it difficult during a time like that to make music? Like I saw the sentiment was, it's anger. It's no longer like the turn up music, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's a time and place for everything, And I'm interested because you've toured Europe. What has been your experience as a black man in Europe?
It's not that great. You know what I mean? Like it's I love Europe, especially just for like how beautiful these places are. But of course, you stick out like a sore thumb when you're from America. I feel like when I'm on tour, it's not just me walking around the streets. It's like me and like 10 other black people, So, so we definitely, just have experienced things that aren't so great, racist situations that don't feel amazing. But again, it's just like the world we live in. Like I can't stop it, you know what I mean? And that's the frustrating part, I think, for a lot of us, where it feels like this is a fight that we keep having to fight that doesn't seem like it's like it has an end, you know what I mean? And that's so frustrating to be able to, it's like you're on a treadmill and it just keeps going and you can't stop, you know what I mean? And you're tired, you're just tired of it all. So, yeah, it's just something we deal with. It's like I just shrug at it because I can't, I don't know what the full complete answer is to it.
Have you had a chance to go to Africa, to where your family's originally from?
Yeah, I was just there in November for the first time. Actually, I was there when I was 12, but I haven't been there since I was 12. So I'd just been there in November, and it was a beautiful time because I was very lucky to be able to do it then because it was right before COVID hit. So I was lucky enough to see my grandparents I hadn't seen in 6, 7, 10 years. So it was just a very like humbling experience to be there and be able to really just connect with where I'm from and be able to do that before I, put out an album and before I got busy and did all of that stuff.
And you go there to strictly take time out, or have you had a chance to record while you're out there?
Nah, I was not recording. I definitely like took 2.5 weeks off just to be in the city and be with my grandparents and, bullshit and look at old photos and, just do the things that my grandparents would want me to do, just be, they're not going to be here forever. So I wanted to be able to give them the attention they deserve,
Yeah. I think it would be so dope though, if you did have, you put some time aside to spend a couple of months and actually record music out there. I feel
yeah.
Because you do draw from experiences and your feelings.
Oh, of course. Yeah, for sure. That would be so dope. I think every album and every project that I do, we always do sessions in different places. Like for Limbo, we were in Hawaii, Toronto, Jamaica, London. Nice. So for me, like with quarantine hitting, it's hard to be able to do the things I usually would do when I'm recording. So I just have to keep it LA and Portland right now.
You know what? You mentioned family photos, and I actually so seeing us at my family home right now, you was a big Spice Girl fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
As was I. So I had to pull out this photo of me.
Is this of you?
Yeah, this is of me. Dressed as Baby Spice. Unfortunately, I'm not Sporty Spice.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't. Which one are you? Oh my God, that's funny as hell. Who are your friends?
Just friends from
just
primary
like homies.
school.
Oh, sick. And y'all just dressed up at school?
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, I think it was like fancy dress. I don't know how I ended up being Baby Spice though. It's very bizarre. But I'm wondering, what artists have you dressed up as in your as a kid, maybe for fancy dress, or even as an adult? Like you celebrities be having like some wild fancy dress parties.
Oh yeah. I think I early on I did Austin Powers, and I think I did when I was in high school on Halloween I did YG. Like I just tatted my whole body. It was funny. And then I think when I was a kid, I did like Zorro, and I had the whole like mustache and
Classic.
like the sword. Yeah,
Never
yeah.
a Spice Girl
It
though.
was a whole thing. Never a Spice Girl. I had the Spice Girl merch though when I was like 5,
Oh,
so
I've
that
still
was
got
pretty
that.
lit. Yeah,
You've got
could have.
your merch on right now, right?
Yeah. We didn't release this. This is just like a polo from the compensated video. We
Okay.
made like a lot of custom polos.
And are they just for like one-offs, or can fans get hold of them?
Fans can't get a hold of these polos right now. These are just custom and just kind of a flex, you know. But
I'm
there's a
feeling it.
ton. There's a ton of thank you. There's a ton of Limbo merch that a lot of fans have been enjoying. So that's available in the store.
One thing that really stood out to me about Limbo and in general about your projects, your one word titles. What is that a pattern?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't genuinely think about that too much, to be honest with you. They kind of just happen because I'm a big guy on like words and the way they look on paper. So for me, like pressure in my palms was such a long title because that just flowed so well. And I mean, that's what the sample says. And I didn't really want to name it pressure because pressure in my palms just sounded so good on paper.
Hmm.
I think it just, yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really think about it too much. It's just something that I look at and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So then we do it.
What's the most special thing about this project for you?
Um, Man, there's a lot of special things. I think for me, it's just I'm really just proud of the work that we were able to put together. You know what I mean? Like this is something I feel like 10, 20 years from now, I can show my kids and they're gonna be impressed. You know, this is just something I think we are just yeah, again, just extremely proud of. I'm just gonna say that. That's what I can say about it.
I mean, there's so many great tracks on this, but what would you say is your favorite, more so on on the content standpoint rather than to perform, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, one of my favorites is Burden on the album. Burden just
Ooh.
kind of hits hits the soul. You know what I mean? It's just like just a different vibe, and it was like the perfect way to start the album.
Hey, I have to say that Easy Summer Walker is like, that's a duet. That's not a feature.
No, yeah, it's definitely like a duet. Yeah. She was so kind enough to be able to do it. I think I sent her like a couple ideas, and that was the one she really liked. So it was dope that we were able to get that together for the album. I made that with a British producer as well, P2J.
P2J, fire.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
my
his
guy.
stuff.
That's my
Right.
guy. Yeah.
And I'm glad you actually reminded me because I almost forgot you actually have Slow Tie on track 8, Pressure in My
Hmm.
Palms, which you mentioned.
And
I'm
Bree
s-
Runway's on it as well. Bree Runway is
yes.
a new
Yeah,
artist.
exactly. And
Yeah.
Vince, of course.
Yep. And
Yeah.
Vince. But he's
um,
not British, but yeah,
I know, I
that's
know,
what
I
it
know.
is.
Can you give me an idea of how, you guys came across each other for the first time?
Yeah, I think just like naturally, like I'm a fan of his music and he was a fan of mine. So we just kind of DM'd each other. And then when he first came to LA, we took him to his first Chick-fil-A meal. So that was cool.
Oh,
It was
Chick-fil-A.
hilarious watching him eat that for the first time. And yeah, I went to his LA show. That was dope. Yeah, it was just natural the way our relationship started. That was kind of just he's a good guy and I think he just has such a bright personality that it was easy to work with him. And I recorded his part of Pressure in My Palms in London last year. And then
Nice.
the next day Bree Runway came to the studio and she did her part as well.
Amazing. Have you been able to cross paths with any other UK acts?
Yeah, AJ Tracey and Dave are like my guys. I love those dudes. Dave was like one of the first people I ever met in London. My first time in London, he took me around his neighborhoods and shit, and we went to AJ Tracy's show at XYXO, I
XOIO.
think XOYO,
Yeah.
and that kind of was just my introduction into like grime and the whole like London scene. It was dope to be able to experience that in person instead of on the internet. It was like when I saw it in person at a show, I was like, yo, UK is like on a whole different level. You know, I didn't
It's
even know
true.
this existed.
Yeah, the energy is crazy with UK music in general. Like just because we
Yeah.
draw from so many different cultures and sound system culture, that's very
Yeah.
much ingrained
It's
in the UK.
insane. It's dope. It's like it's a whole different genre that I had as an American, like I had never heard of. You know, I just grew up on hood shit, so I didn't really know this was a genre. You know,
Yeah,
so
the
for
dance
me,
element.
it was really
Hmm.
yeah, it was dope to see. It was dope to see.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess you know, one of my favorite songs of yours is Red Mercedes. Obviously, we're taking this a few years back. But thank
Hmm.
you, because I did an edit of that. I did a flip of, well, I did like a merge of that with Missy Elliott's Pass That Dutch, I think it was,
Oh,
which was
crazy!
obvious. And it's got the most plays on Audio Max, so thank you for that. I did a
Oh,
little,
amazing.
yeah, I
Okay,
did a little
dope.
edit
Dope.
of your song, and yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
What
that song.
the day we made that song, we were like, "Yo, if we could get Missy on this would be the craziest thing ever."
And you
So
did,
yeah,
right?
that's dope that you did. Yeah,
Did
and we
you?
did, and we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
I'm
did on the
tripping.
remix. AJ Tracy and
And
Missy.
AJ,
Yeah.
we definitely encourage everyone who hasn't listened to Limbo yet to definitely take time, keep it playing, and keep streaming Limbo. AJ
Thank
Tracy.
you.
Wow. Aminé, Aminé in the trap with me, Sarah Harrison. And you take care.
Love, love you as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.